Greetings and welcome to another excellent chess video. Now I have a game here played by our hero who's 10 years old. And he played a killer move that I wanted you guys to see. And also, I wanted to see the whole game myself, so I got the game from his father. And we're going to check this out. As you can see, our hero 91%, which is crazy good. And his opponent 77.8, solid, but there's room for improvement, obviously. So let's see what it says here. Okay, so this is the book move. This is a French defense. And white opts for the exchange variation. Now, weakness of exchange variation is it simplifies the center early and makes it easier for black to have a decent position. Real solid for c6, but knight f6 is clearly better. There's no reason to worry that the d pawn did not require any kind of support from this pawn, but when you're lower rated, you learn that these pawn chains are quite strong, so you got to go with it. Bishop b4, kind of aggressive. He's giving white the idea of, hey, I'll take your pawn and bishop, and your pawn structure will be inferior. But it's actually not that inferior, and it's even better if white had played e5 instead of trading the pawns, because it can become a quite safe structure for the king to hide behind. But white is paying attention. He's looking at it. You can see again, the computer says bishop d3 here, because that pawn structure is actually not bad in practice. All right, but he's playing, like my dad's rules. What's he trying to do to me? Wreck my structure? Well, bishop will take back and it won't wreck the structure. Excellent move. He needs to get that knight out there. This knight here on f6 is the best protector for the king when he castles. Also excellent, this is the best attacking diagonal for this bishop. Well, clearly these other ones are completely off limits. So you have an attacking diagonal here on bishop d3 to h7, or you have a defensive diagonal, bishop e2, guarding the f3 knight. He takes, and white, having said, if you take my knight, I will play the bishop there until I can take it back with the bishop, takes back with the bishop. We should not be surprised. He's paying attention, and it's really good that a lot of times you'll see people make these moves and then they'll change their mind. So he had the right idea to continue with his original plan. There's no need to second guess yourself. Not a good move. He's asking for trouble because you have the obvious queen to e2 with a skewer here. And black has to be careful. He can't just do willy-nilly f5, because he runs into stuff like knight d2 and then f3, potentially. It's not horrible. He's not losing material, but it's getting dangerous. The move knight to e4 really did nothing. Castling is by far better. Here, castling is clearly better. There's no reason to worry about it. But, when you're a lower rated player, younger, it's a different world. And you learn these things by interacting with older and more experienced players. Okay, so white castles, he should have played, yes, bishop to b4 is a tremendous move, because the problem with trading off the dark squared bishop before castling is that white can play bishop to b4 and impede the castling. Now, he could still go back knight to d6, but bishop to b4 at least threatens to keep his king in the center, so you can play maybe rook to e1 and pile up on this knight. He castles. Yeah. You see, this is the best move. Get out of dodge. Get out of this skewer, or I mean this pin. Not quite a skewer yet, but so now he's like, well, okay, I'm going to take it. This is an okay move. And that's not bad. It's not great, but it's pretty average. It's not losing. When you're 10 years old, you play a move like bishop takes knight. It's not losing. Man, that's good enough. All right, so that's the thing. I'm not second guessing a 10-year-old. He's playing good, solid moves. Now, there are better moves you could play, but you have to be older or more experienced or in the company of people who are older and more experienced to teach you these ideas like I'm doing here. Like, I don't know this guy, but it's the kind of kid you want to know because this dude is on to something. He's playing a good game here. Both of these guys are playing good. It's, even position. Knight e5, tremendous move. Not normal. The normal move for younger guys is to play knight to d2, something that's less out there and less likely to have a problem. But with this d4 pawn, this knight e5 outpost is pretty secure, so, that's very good. So he plays f5. Really, not the greatest move of all time. This pawn isn't under attack. And so the computer says knight a6. And one of the things about knight a6 is the idea of playing knight c7, knight d5. And you have plenty of time to defend this with bishop f5 or f5 again. Not f5 is not a bad move. It's just, it's unnecessary. You want to get your pieces out more than play f5. So in this position here, the biggest negative to f5 is that, it's impacting king safety and you're also not developing your pieces. This bishop needs to get out of there. Bishop e6 maybe. You might, the knight going here first allows you to decide later where the bishop belongs. But knight a6, knight c7, knight d5, this is very natural and quite good. So take the good stuff that you can get, like here, here, and here, over playing f5. With super safe move, though. And this is a safety move trying to be careful and not lose the game. So there's a lot of good things behind f5. You have to transport yourself mentally to a position where you understand why these moves are happening. I mean, I was young too a long time ago, but it was a long time ago. Okay, so h5, queen h5, super aggressive move. Again, this guy is on to something, all right? He's got the general drift. If I get my queen out here without any kind of knight business to reject it, this could be good for white. Again, the game was, surprisingly even. This is another wasted move. Unnecessary. It's not really doing anything. Now, you do have the advantage. When black plays b6 in the French, you got to look out for bishop to a6. These are things you learn over time. Again, the computer says bishop e6 is better. Okay. Bishop to b4. You're not really gaining anything off of this. And he could just play queen takes. And notice he's attacking this knight. So if he plays queen takes, bishop takes rook. He can play king takes bishop. And this knight is, somewhat in trouble. Potentially. Or you can just go play rook to e8. Counterattacking, depending whatever. But you're asking for trouble. It's not a bad position. As you see, it's still evenish, a hair better for white. But this move is wasteful. Computer says he needs to be attacking the pawn chain here. Hopefully to create a weakness by trading here on leaving this, leaving black. White's threatening to take on e4. And if black recaptures, this pawn is weak and be relatively easy captured. Rook takes, queen takes, and then rook to f1. So f3, very strong move, but unplayed. Bishop b4, just playing an unnecessary move that really amounts to nothing. c5 is the move that I thought as well. C5, pawn takes, bishop takes, or pawn takes here. You could hammer him. Pawn takes, queen to e4. Potentially quite dangerous. But you're just asking for trouble. C5 is good for a strong computer, but it's asking for some trouble for a human, because you got this whole weakness of your king makes all calculations tougher and more intricate, and it wastes your mental energy to have to calculate these when you really shouldn't be playing f5. That's really the deal. But he gets out of trouble, not bad. Again, it's a non-losing move. Younger guys and kids, what have you, they're not looking to go into these long desperados. I take, he takes, I take, blah blah blah. It's a lot of calculations, and their game is not yet built to the point where they can afford to go into these calculations. There are levels to development, but the practical level here is that rook to f6 is, again, non-losing. This is a non-losing move, so very useful in that context. Okay, so now what's going on? But white has a slight advantage because of his bishop activity in this knight. And for some reason, he moves the bishop back. It's one of those things. It's just, kids will be kids. So again, non-losing move. He's not happy with this bishop being out here. And like the computer says, c5 is a legitimate move to be playing. So safety's sake, again, non-losing move. This is a super solid move. You have the connect 4 of b2, c3 bishop, d4 pawn, and e5 knight. So you have a connect 4 going right there. Again, super solid. Hard for this to lose. And when you're younger and less experienced in chess, avoiding these thunderbolt type of tactical losses is a huge deal. So both of these guys are doing that. They're both working on the same angle of, hey, let's just not lose to some thunderbolt. All right, bishop a6. Again, this is one of the things that happens when French players play b6, and they get to play bishop a6 with attack on this f1 rook. Excellent move, taking the attacked rook, putting it right behind the center pawn, so that you now have some flexibility of moving this bishop if you want to. Ideas now come up where you can play b3, bishop b2, and then c4. That's just one idea. But it's a tremendous move getting on this. Well, you're getting behind this pawn on the on the half open file, overprotecting the pawn. It's what Nimzovich would say, you're overprotecting it. Very good move, not normal for, players of this caliber. You're both 700 level players. I should have mentioned that. So for 700 level players, this is a very good move. Really good. It's the best move, of course, according to the computer, but for a 700 player to see that this is the time and the place to play this is quite good. Trying to get rid of this knight, pawn takes, etc. Now d5. Okay, the point of d5 now is that if he plays pawn takes, rook takes, and knight takes is answered by bishop takes. So this is not an obvious move to myself. Now, when the computer says it, I'm like, I get it instantly. But even I wasn't thinking of playing d5 on just on a surface level. That wasn't what I was thinking of. I haven't even thought about what I would do here. It's like, I don't really, bishop, rook d2, and then doubling the rooks on d file is something I would have thought of. d5 is tremendous. He trades off his knight. Again, not losing. The knight is no longer hanging. Got to be there for a while. But in the 700 world, hanging pieces get destroyed. Then he plays d5. This is a fantastic move. I mean, this is not your standard 10-year-old kid, 700, plus player. That's not normal for these kind of, for either group, either a 700 player or a 10-year-old kid. D5 is not the obvious move. That's a tremendous move. He uncorks the discovered attack against a rook, threatening to do other stuff. Bishop E5 is another possibility. Advancing this pawn, what have you. It's a multi-purpose move there. So what does black do? He takes the pawn. Oh, geez. Don't take the pawn, bro. He takes it. Well, the computer says, yeah, rook to G6. I'd even say rook to H6 looks real good because you're counterattacking. You're getting out of the attack with a counterattack on the queen. Then you could play, if you want to play, C takes D5. But he made a boo-boo grande. C takes D5 because you know that when my boy is over here playing D5, he's like, if you don't move that rook, I am going to take it. And he sure as heck did. I mean, I could see that already. I don't know this guy. I've never talked to him, never even, had a word with him. But I could see this dude has got a killer, mentality in those eyes. You look into those eyes, he's got the killer mentality, dude. Bishop takes F6 like it was nothing. That was just outstanding. Now, what he has to be careful about is to blockade this D pawn, keep it backwards, try to, maneuver against it in general. So you got to be careful. Rook D4 is a good idea. Now, because this is following one of my dad's rules, I see that you have a strong light square bishop. So all my pieces are going to dark squares, baby. My dad would have been a proponent of rook to D4 or rook to D2 like this. Well, there you go. Now, as a master, rook D4 is the best and obvious move. You're blockading the pawn. That's what. Now, a 710-year-old is not aware of the strategic availability of blockading this pawn with rook to D4. Again, this is a little out there, not defended, but you're going to double the rooks. So he plays a smart move, but there was a smarter move. So this move is not actually bad. Question mark, exclamation. But black can play D4 and gain a little more space and make his defensive job a little easier. The correct move, as the computer shows, is obviously rook to D4 because you want to blockade the pawn and keep it weak. We don't want to play rook to D2 where he plays D4 and then maybe with this bishop and this pawn he can play D3. Pawn takes, bishop takes, and now his bishop has got to anchor right there in your position. So it's a little tiny bit of a... It's not a bad move. This is a good move. This is a better move, rook to D4. So he played a smart move. He's following my dad's rules, and he never met my father. He never heard of him. All right? But my dad's rules, get on the dark squares, either D2 or D4. Now, like I said, as an advanced player, I play rook to D4 like this. He plays a smart move. He's on the dark squares. My dad would be like, okay, you're doing good. All right. Queen to G7 really doesn't do anything. It looks aggressive, but that's really the end of it. See, again, the computer agreed with me. D4 is the move. Well, let me rephrase that. The computer calculated what I calculated and then it goes beyond because the computer's calculation is better than mine. But the computer is on it like this, that D4 is the move for the reasons I told you. Plus, you have the backing of what is essentially a 3,000 level tactical player telling you that D4 is it. So I told you d4 is the move. And the computer comes back, who's even stronger than myself, and says d4 is the moves. So you heard it from me upcoming, and then the computer backed me up on that. This is the kind of stuff you can't fake. Well, okay. Technically, in this situation, I had to manually input the moves here. And I'm using the review part. Now, technically, you could fake this, but I'm just too lazy to do all that work. That's the difference. I'm just, I have the ability to do everything you've seen, and I'm just too lazy to go through it to fake it because I'm not a chump player. If I was a chump player, I'd have to fake this. Okay. And I could have gone through this, but I don't pay for chess.com because it's just not worth paying for. So I get one free review a day, and I'm using it on this game here. Okay, so he played. Oh, computer says that he should take the pawn. Queen takes f5, which is correct from the computer's perspective. From our hero, a 770-something plus player, he's over 700 and 10 years old. This is a tremendous move. Hey, you got your rook up on the second rank. Double those rooks because, again, safety. You can't win a rook here because they're double protected. All right? So there's a logic behind what he's doing. And it doesn't really matter in that perspective. Both rook takes d5 or the threat of queen takes f5. These are both tremendous threats. You can only defend one of them, so, you can't go wrong. This move is, is given a thumbs up. This is a very good move. If you want to put it in schoolwork, this is the A+ move. Queen takes f5. All right. This move, rook ad1, that's probably a B+ move. Maybe A-. It's that good. Okay. So, and this is following another one of the rules that my dad has, which was play the win. And it doesn't mean just the win. It means play the good move that you see. And rook ad1 is a very good move. So he's following my dad's rules, not even knowing that my dad's ever existed, which is fantastic. All right. Bishop to b7. Rock solid super move. Much better than bishop c4 because you can just play b3 and boot the bishop. So, again, another 700 plus players playing this. This is not a normal move. So tremendous move to play bishop to b7, getting the bishop on a permanent defense. However, you see now kind of the thing that I was telling you, that when the queen was on d7, the ability of having this pawn here with the idea of playing d3, pawn takes, bishop takes on d3 could be quite a pain in the butt. But he's reacting pretty good. We got to give him credit. So now they took this away. He said, okay, you don't want me to take the d pawn. I understand that. Queen takes f5. So black gives up the lesser of the two pawns. The d pawn is worth more, guarded by the bishop, than this doubled f5 pawn, which is just an annoyance. So let that one go. He let the right one go. But white is clearly winning here. He's an exchange up, not control, but super pressure down the half-open d-file against a backwards pawn. At some point, black has to worry about rook takes pawn, bishop takes, and either queen takes or rook takes. This is just the reality that this is 4, 5, 6. This is 6. You have even pawns, but white threatens to give the rook back for the bishop and a pawn where this will be advantageous. So this is the constant sword of Damocles hanging over black. And it gets to you after a while. Rook to d8, excellent move. Defending the pawn. But you got to be careful. And you'll see why upcoming, why you have to be careful. Rook to e8 is better because he does have this nasty, wicked idea of rook to e5, guarding the pawn from the side. and kicking the queen out of there. So that's pretty awesome. A terrific idea. I wouldn't have thought of playing this. But when the computer shows me this, instantly I realize, oh yeah, rook e8, rook e5. And then you have the idea of playing, hey, rook g5. So there's a bing, bang, boom defensive combo that also has an attacking element. This is just really solid passive defense of bishop b7 and rook to d8. You got to be careful. You got to be on your game tactically, and you're going to see why. And this is why. Now, for a 10-year-old 770, whatever his rating was, that is not a normal move. This is an advanced move because it requires, look at the combo that he has to see here. This is a kid, all right? Tournament face position. He's calculated this correctly, by the way. Queen takes e4, pawn takes queen, rook takes rook check, king is forced to, well, either king f7 or queen to f8. The smarter move would be probably queen to f8, and then rook takes, king takes, and it's just an exchange. It's an exchange up endgame with an extra pawn. So white, the differential for white is a rook and a pawn versus a bishop, crushingly winning. And it simplifies the position because of the nasty move here. But here's the sequence. Let's count this. Queen takes e4, d takes e4, rook takes rook check, king goes up to f7, rook on 1 to d7 check on move 5, king goes to g6, rook takes queen, king takes rook, and then the crusher is rook to d7. Now, even when he plays that on move 8, he's clearly losing, but move 9 is an absolute crusher with rook to d7 check. Now, I don't know if he saw rook to d7 at the end of this combo. He's still winning even if he didn't. But he's mega crushing if he sees the 9th move in the sequence, which is just crazy. So he hits him with queen takes e4, and that was a brilliancy move in the game. That's a brilliancy move for a 700 player, 10-year-old kid. Fantastic stuff. All right, that's 2, 3. Realistically, I think queen f8 is the best move. 4. Again, the computer agrees with me. Queen to f8 is the winning, is the not winning. It's the losing the least move. That's what it is. But he didn't do that. He hits him with the crusher on move 7. Here, move 8. And on move 9, that's move 8. On move 9, when you get to this position, you're like, oh, I can just fork you. You don't have to see move 9. I see move 9 back here. Okay. Back here, I'm like, hey, wait a second. I got this vicious pin. I would go into tournament face and see move 9. If he makes the mistake of playing the king up on the check instead of the queen back, I see this is absolutely crushing. On move 9, I see that the rook d7 check is a winner. Here, he needs to play this. Well, okay, let's do this and then do here. The evaluation is slightly less terrible. It's still terrible. It's slightly less terrible. It's just absolutely, he's going to crush this. Boom, boom. And then, rook to d7, bishop a6. It's ugly. This is some kind of ugly. Mega crushing. 5.68. Now, because they're, 700 plus players playing each other, they don't resign to nobody. Okay? And, you got to respect that. You got a lot of nerve. Like, hey, they've seen lots of games, and I'm not saying they were all personal experiences, but some of them were. You see games at the By players at this level, you see mistakes. People mess up. All right, F5. It doesn't matter. There is no good move for black. Everything he does is a dead lost game. Now watch this, though. This is the thing that's impressive as well. My boy here played a crushing transition combination that gets a winning position by, of all things, temporarily sacrificing his queen. I can't even tell you when was the first time I would have done that. Would have been, when I was playing in tournaments. But I was 20 plus, okay? I wasn't 10. I didn't make that move. Queen takes e4. 10-year-old me never even would have thought of that, okay? I would have been 20 at the very least when that happened. But that's what's it's really amazing. Just a crushing combination. Absolutely crushing. Queen takes e4 for a brilliancy move. But here, what he needs to do, white needs to crush these queenside pawns. Kill them and just queen. This cannot work. King and 3 pawns versus king and 3 pawns, ain't no way he's going to make any magic happen and come up with any compensation at all. So, like Bobby Fischer, rook takes a7, best move. Now, it's also the most obvious move here. But this dude is looking, he's looking like Bobby Fischer. All right, rook takes a7. b5. Wrong. Nimzovich himself says in the book, My System, the system of Nimzovich, rooks go behind the passed pawns, but in this case, they go behind the ones that are trying to run away too. Passed or not, rook b7 was a tremendous move. I don't know why he said this is the move. This is the simplest move, and this is the best move for the human mind. The human mind is different than a computer, and so the human mind is aware of the way that the ghosts of past lost games is well in the mind of a 700 plus 10-year-old kid who's obviously on the rocket ride up. He knows that, this rook to a5 is kind of goofy. Look, there's no getting away from this. And so I'm of the idea, my father, play the win you see, play the best move you see, and I think rook to b7 is a crushing move because keep it simple. Don't be fancy. Another one of my dad's rules. This dude is not going fancy. Rook a5 is a little fancy. And go rook b7 and just smoke that dude. Doesn't matter. Conceptually, 3 pawns and king cannot bust through 3 pawns and king. Not especially when he has a rook on the side. So he's just absolutely grandmaster crushing this pawn. Now the next move for white needs to be a4, a5, a6, etc. That's what he needs to do. However, he's aware that if the guy has no pieces left, he can't lose. So I'm not telling you this is a wrong move. There is a logic behind this move that is quite impressive. So I'm like, my teaching would be like, okay, in this position, you've got this guy. He's got no chance. You don't have to go after this H pawn. If this is not a timed position where he's in time trouble, look at the position. You need to look and go, look, just queen the pawn. Or at least look at it and go, can I just queen this pawn? Ask yourself the question. So this is where we make the transition. And it's a great idea to just crush this H pawn. The only best move available. Dude is a freaking killer. He's just a killer. He wants to take this pawn. It's like, I am going to take this pawn from you if you don't watch it. Well, he said, okay, I'll watch it. You're not going to take squat. So this is a killer move. Now, like I said, the pro move is to play a4 and just queen the pawn. He can't manufacture anything, but this dude is looking a little bit different. And so you've got to respect this move of rook h7. h3 check. This dude is hardcore. This is just not your normal little kid stuff, okay? Like, this guy's a freak. Yeah, he has to play king g5. It doesn't really matter, but it almost matters. King h2. Absolutely cold-blooded like Dracula, okay? He's moving in on this dude like Dracula. So, rook to e7. No, that is not the best move. It's the best move in computer world. When you're playing like Dracula over here, watch what he's doing. This dude is on fire. He's following my dad's rule. He's playing the win that he sees, and it's a good one. I'm like, okay, again, it's so under the radar. What, as my dad would say, what's he trying to do to me? Well, this guy over here, this white king, is like Dracula, moving in on another victim. What do you think the best move is for white here? I've seen the move, so I know what's happening. But I would not have done this because I would have already had this pawn at a6 or a7 at this point. But I'm a simple man, and I got an easy win. I'm going to queen the pawn, and I'm not going to put any forth any extra effort. Wrong. This dude is putting forth the creative effort that we sit back and go, man, that's awesome. Outstanding. What a crusher of a move. Who thinks of this? Who thinks of rook to g7? Dracula, that's who. It's like, bro, he got you. There's nothing you could do. This dude is setting up. He was doing the whole thing here with king to h2. Is he's threatening? He's looking. Well, if I go g3 check, it's a check. Oh no, he's got king to g5. Not anymore. He doesn't. So he plays the best move, the only move that has a threat. But the problem is that threat has absolutely no chance of stopping Dracula himself. It's over, brother. Pawn takes, check. And that's fatality. Now that is one of the best finishes you're going to see from a 10-year-old kid for a long time. I myself had never even considered this idea of just, how can I checkmate this guy? So he makes me feel slightly jealous that, I could have seen this and what have you, but, rook to h7, this is a troll move of the highest order. Now, I'm going to threaten to take your pawn. He goes, no, you're not. You sure about that, buddy? h3 check. Let me see. Now, at this point, after an h3 check, if I'm looking at this, I'm going, man, rook g7 right now, and it's over. So he's sneaking up on this guy with king h2. It's like, oh, man, he still doesn't see it. And you can't blame him. There's not a whole lot of interest for black at this moment. While he's executing just an absolute monster of a checkmate. So super fantastic stuff. Like I said, the turning point in this game was the queen takes e4 sacrifice. This is just really next level. You would be impressed if this was a 1900 pulling this off, okay? If you're 2000 plus, it's not as impressive. It's still really good, okay? But if you have, from my perspective, if I have a student that's 1900 plus and he's playing, it doesn't matter. When you see queen takes e4, you're like, okay, his dad is like, dude, this guy is butt whooping, okay? That's just whatever this dad has been doing is keep doing it. Do more of it because this dude is on fire. This is not an obvious move, for most players. Especially when you're in an actual game and you're like, there's no takebacks here. You got to do this, tough. He is able to calculate that this is at least even for 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, if he played queen back to f8 on move 4, rook takes, king takes, he knows that this is still winning. He's got a pawn or a rook for a bishop. So he had to calculate at least basically 5 moves deep to see that this is winning, which is fantastic. So this is the point. This is the turning point where the victory is almost in the bank once he plays queen takes e4. Now black misplays it and hastens his own demise, but he's dead lost anyway. The best moves here, he's still dead lost. This is absolutely squashing. Not rook d8 check, king e7, but just rook d7. This bishop can't go anywhere. He can't go to the back rank. He has to go bishop a6. He doesn't have anything good, so he has to play this move. Everything else loses. Oh, I'm sorry. Takes here. It's rook to d7. This is the only move that loses to rook d8. This loses to rook d8. You're asking for trouble with bishop to c6. You're literally asking for trouble. So I think bishop a6, this is slightly better, I guess. But you're just going to take this and just skewer. Oh, look at this freak. He's not going to take that. I wouldn't take that pawn. That's not the one to take. This is the one to take. You're going to, these pawns are just completely crushed. I don't like taking this. I mean, you can take either one, but if you take this, he's going to play a5. All right, and what are you going to do now, Bobby Fischer? Okay, you take this, he's got a skewer built in to go here and win another pawn. This is what I would play, because this is there's no reason to calculate all of this when you see the obvious here. Just absolutely crushing. This is absolutely crushing. See, I see this here. Now, I'm not better than the computer, no question. But I see, in fact, the computer agrees with me. That was the original move. But when I played this, it actually says this is the best move because this is the best move. And I'm thinking of from a human perspective, there's no calculations really required to play rook takes a7 and then rook to a6. You're just going to win both of these pawns like this. There's nothing you can do. The best move. The best move. And this is the best move. You've got to see this stuff. And even in the face of the computer's suggestion, the blue arrow suggestion, the 3000 computer is suggesting to me, take the h7 pawn. I have the wherewithal and the confidence in my own ability based upon 55 plus years of playing that rook takes a7 is the correct move conceptually, because we're going to win this with the least amount of effort. That's what I'm doing. When I play tournaments, you're going to get in positions like this. You want to win with the least effort so that you can save your mental energy for the next round. Because when you win a tournament, when you play a tournament in America, you're either going to be playing a 3-round, 4-round, or 5-round tournament, usually on a weekend. 3-round tournaments, usually one day, Saturdays. We used to play those, back in the 80s and 90s. That's 3-0 to win that tournament. If you're playing a longer time control, sometimes 4 rounds, that's 2 rounds on Saturday, 2 rounds on Sunday, 4-0 to win that one. If you're playing a bigger tournament where there's a larger draw of players, we used to play those at the University of Houston monthly. Those were 5-round, 3 rounds on Saturday, 2 rounds on Sunday. To win that, 5-0. That's the big boy level, okay? I mean, and that's the big boy stuff. Very difficult. So that's the whole mentality of playing this move and this move. But and this is, if Black played his best, he's still just absolutely crushed. But he didn't do that. He made a mistake. He made a mistake, and Dracula cleaned his clock. Okay. I'm like, bro, you can resign. He's just absolutely eating you alive. And he's got Pac-Man over here, gonna go Pac-Man some more, pellets. Waka, waka, waka. So really a fantastic game. I saw the post that his dad made. In this position. And I told him, I said, hey, it was fantastic for, his son to play this really top-notch stuff. And my dad would have been really impressed for, a kid to do this. So I told him, hey, if you send me the score of the game, I'll make this video. And it'll be awesome. And it was awesome because this kid played awesome. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was really fantastic stuff. And I look forward to seeing you guys in another video, because you never know who might be showing up. That was a fantastic move. No 10-year-old kid should be playing this. But, that's how good it was. We don't expect kids to play that move. It was so good. So, man, thanks for sharing the game. It was really awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I look forward to seeing you guys later. Thanks again.